Good afternoon. You're listening to Open Air on the Rhythm and News Service of Jefferson Public Radio. I'm your host, Danielle Kelly, coming to you from JPR's Steve Nelson Performance Studio for another JPR live session. Our guest today is longtime Southern Oregon resident and songstress Alice DiMicele. You've heard us play her music here for decades. We've got over 15 of her studio albums in our folk and open air library. We are absolutely thrilled to have her here in the studio today in support of her latest album release, Every Seed We Plant. Thank you for being here and welcome, Alice.
Thank you so much. It's so good to be here with you in this new wonderful studio.
Thank you. We've had you in our studio before, not this one. It's been, I think we did the math, 12 years?
Yeah, it was about 12 years ago. It was when Eric first started doing the interviews.
Alice, you're an absolute veteran musician here in the Rogue Valley. I believe you're a Jersey girl from the beginning, though. Is that true?
Yep, born and raised.
A lot's happened since we've had you in, and I'd love to talk about all sorts of things. We've got new albums. There's been fires ripping through our valley. There's been deaths, a lot of community change, and I know that all these big events always make their way into your songs in a really powerful way. Can you tell us a little bit about Every Seed We Plant and what the impetus for that was?
Well, the album was kind of my pandemic thing. You know, when the pandemic hit, I had 9 months of shows booked, and I did the first one, and then everything else got canceled. So I was wondering, what am I going to do? How am I going to get through this? And so I started talking to all my engineer friends and saying, I got to learn how to do this stuff because I can't not make music. And so I bought some gear, and my friends helped me learn how, like Brett Levick and several other people helped me figure out how to record myself, what to get. And then I started sending tracks around, and that's how this album was born. It was basically sending tracks around to different people in different studios that played different instruments and then bringing them back. And then Brett Levick actually mixed the record and co-produced it with me and co-arranged everything. And we just lived on the phone with each other and sent computer files back and forth. It was pretty amazing.
After that much time behind a microphone, this is your first time recording and being in the driver's seat yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. And I've done so much. And most of my records I've done live in the studio. Like I'd get the band together and we'd go to the studio and I'd bring a bunch of food and feed everybody for a week, and we'd like work out the songs and work out the arrangements, and then we'd play them live, and I would just sing and play live. So this was a completely different way to do it, but it really worked, and it was the only way I couldn't go to a studio with everybody. It wasn't safe to do so. So we just all stayed home. And luckily, some of my favorite musician friends all have their own home studios. So it really worked quite well.
Has that changed the people and the musicians that you worked with, being remote and being divided by a lockdown? Did that change the people that you got to work with? Did it?
Some of them. I mean, Rob Kohler is my longtime bass player. He's on a lot of my albums. And Damian Erskine is also on several of my albums, and they're both on the album. Different people have been on different albums, but, people that live far away could be on the record and not have to be in the same room, and everybody's safe, So it was pretty cool. It was a fun way to do it. And I feel like musically it worked. I was worried at first that musically it wasn't going to work, but I feel like we've really pulled it off, and I'm really proud of it, actually.
It's a beautiful album and really powerful song content. Did the pandemic and that separation itself influence the songs?
Yeah, some of the songs definitely have experiences that have happened through the pandemic in them, and some of them were written before the pandemic. The title track, Every Seed, was written right prior to the pandemic in January, on the way to Grandmother Agnes Baker Pilgrim was the eldest living Takilma woman, or Takilma person, rather, and she passed away in November of 2019, and her memorial was in 2020 in January, and her granddaughter had called and asked me if I would play, and so I was planning on playing, and when I figured I'd play this song called Voice of the Water, which I quote Grandma Aggie in, And so I got my guitar all ready to play the song, and then I just felt these hands on my shoulders as I was getting up to leave. I had 20 minutes to get out of the house to be there on time, and I felt these hands on my shoulders pushing me down, and I just felt this, you know, it wasn't like an audible voice, but I felt the voice of, yeah, I've already said that. There's something else that needs to be said. And then this song, Every Seed, just literally came flying out, like out of nowhere, like a gift from the stars. And so it ended up being the title of the album.
Wow. If you're just tuning in, my guest today for this JPR live session is Alice DiMicele. Alice, would you mind playing us a tune? Would you mind playing us the title track?
Yeah, I'd love to. This is Every Seed. Every seed we plant is love. Every seed we plant is life. We must gather seeds to plant, and we must gather seeds to share. It's how our people survive the past. It's how our children go on from here. Every seed we plant is life. Every seed we plant is peace. When the winds of hatred blow and the drums of war resound, we must care for those in need. We must search for common ground. Every seed we plant is peace. Every seed we plant is hope. We must nurture living soil, and we must give thanks for the rain. In this work we'll find our joy. Every breath we breathe through grace. Every seed we plant is hope. Every seed we plant is love.
Wow, that's Every Seed We Plant. That is Alice DiMicele here at Jefferson Public Radio in the Steve Nelson Performance Studio. Beautiful, Alice, the title track of your new 16th album?
Yes, 16.
Congratulations. Crazy. Beautiful. It's a wild world out there, all sorts of things happening like droughts and fires, and you're out in the middle of it, touring in the midst of it all.
Yeah, I've been back out on the road. I mean, after almost 2 years of no real touring, it's feeling really great to be back out there, but we're kind of being very cautious and doing small things, nothing too big, you know, nothing more than a few hundred people, just trying to keep it safe and keep it good.
Sure. What does tour life look like for you? I know that since we've had you in the studio here, you've acquired a really neat road vehicle for this purpose?
Yeah, Sandy Van, the land yacht. That's what I call her. Being on the road is tough, living out of hotels and living out of suitcases. So for the first 15 years of my career, I lived in a green Chevy van that I loved, and that finally broke down and was no longer able. So then I had these little cars, and there's the thing of having to like load all your stuff in and load all your stuff out and load all your stuff in and then have to go find somewhere to sleep. And then at 1:00 in the morning after the gig, you have to load all your stuff into the hotel room and hope there's enough room for all your gear and you and your dog. And, so I got this awesome van, and it's really helpful. I really like sleeping in my own bed every night. So it's like I get to sleep in my own bed every night.
Sure. I think that a lot of people might be gravitating towards that style as the times have sort of changed with COVID and all that. I'm sure that kind of streamlines that for you. Are there other COVID-related post-pandemic differences to being on the road, to being with audiences that you've noticed besides the scale that you just mentioned? What are some of the post-COVID effects you're feeling?
Well, some of it is that a lot of folks are just not coming out. And some folks don't really care one way or another. They don't really have any protocols, and others are, wearing their N95s. And so I just try to be respectful of everyone's flow and everyone's take on it. And I try to take care of myself and protect myself and my family the best way that I can. And try to bring some joy to people, because it's been tough on a lot of us. It's been tough on everybody, really. And music can bring healing. It can bring joy. It can bring a catharsis, for whatever it is that we're going through. Music can be the vehicle to express that emotion and to let that emotion free, so that then we can move on to something else. So I try to use it, in that way, and that's really not anything different than pre-pandemic. It's just that everything is so intensified. Mm-hmm. I think people, our grief, and especially for those of us in Southern Oregon, it's we didn't just have the pandemic. We had a devastating wildfire where 2,500 of our homes were gone, and we lost some human life and lots of animal life, and people lost all their things. And so many of my friends, your friends, all of our friends have lost so much. So I think music has a way of being able to express that universal, whatever is universal, and create something that can create a healing vibe for people, some way that they can get through it.
Mm-hmm. So speaking of the Alameda Fire and really wildfires up and down our region that are becoming more and more frequent, unfortunately, I know that that's one of the topics that made its way onto the album.
Yeah, this song, I wrote a song called Rise. The fire happened, and my very dear friend came to my house, while her house was burning down with her 2 kids, and showed up smelling like a campfire. And that really hit me. And so, like I said, so many of my friends lost everything, not just in this fire, also the Paradise Fire. And it's just kind of been, and the Santa Cruz fires. And we had evacuees from the Santa Cruz fires stay at our house earlier in the year. And so it's just something that seems to be continuing to happen. And so this song just came to me as a way to reach out to those loved ones and let them know that I'm here, that it's not just me, not me as a person, as Alice, but that we're here as a community, and that our community will take care of each other. And I've been really excited. I don't know if that's the word, proud, maybe that's the word. I'm not sure what the word is, but I've been really honored to be part of a community that has really reached out and supported folks, and it's got to be ongoing. So I'm not ready to just close the news cycle and say this is over, because so many people are still have nowhere to call home after these fires. So so anyway, this is just a song that I wrote to reach out my hand.
I heard you say at one point that this was a love song to the community and the people who lost so much in the fires.
Yeah, I mean, that's really what it is. And it also represents, I mean, it can be applied to any type of grief, really. I mean, I played it for one of my friends who lost her husband, and she said, I know that you wrote this about the fire, but it absolutely applies to me as well.
Well, I know we'd love to hear it. It's Alice DiMicele live in the Steve Nelson Performance Studio with Rise.
Nothing can prepare you for those flames so hot. We think it's easy to let go of it all till it's not. And nobody can fix it. That's the nature of pain. Grief rolls through our lives and we're never the same. So grab onto this hand. I reach out to you. Alone we are lost. Together we'll pull through. Cry all your tears. Let the sky rain upon you and wash out your eyes. Cry your tears, and when they're dry, spread your wings like the phoenix and rise. Someday when the smoke clears, we'll see what remains. Seeds left out in the rubble will sprout towards the sun. But let your heart wail now. Let your soul scream. Let those seeds in the rubble become your new dream. And take hold of this hand. I reach out to you. Alone we are lost. Together we'll pull through. Cry all your tears. Let the sky rain upon you and wash out your eyes. Cry your tears when they're dry. Spread your wings like the phoenix and rise. Cry your tears. Let the sky Nothing can prepare you for a fire that hot. We think it's easy to let go of it all, but it's not. So grab hold of these hands. We reach out to you. Alone we are lost. Together we'll pull through.
Wow, Alice, absolutely beautiful. I see what you mean by cathartic. That is heavy and powerful and wow.
Thank you.
And your vocals are so powerful. As a singer myself, I just can't help but ask you a little bit about your vocal practices. You, as we just heard in that last song, have such power and ability to sustain notes. And what are some of the things that you do to build and stay in shape vocally?
I swim. That really helps. I also just, it's kind of like training, like for anything, it's training. And I had an amazing teacher who some of the local folks will remember, Peter Sacco. He was an incredible voice teacher, and he kicked my butt. He basically made me sing all these classical things, and he knew I was never going to sing classical music. He knew I was never going to be like, singing Handel's Messiah in public, but he made me learn like the soprano, the second soprano, the alto, the tenor parts. He made me learn all the parts and sing them because he said, you have this range and we need to develop it. And he basically, the way he described it was, you have this color palette. And he said, I see, you have all these colors that you use. He's like, but there's so many more colors at your disposal, and I want to encourage you to develop your voice so you have those. So I really still do like all the exercises that he gave me and stuff. Like I'm in the shower, I say, I do the practices and stuff. And I think it's also just, there's a certain thing of, just putting your heart and soul into it, Mm-hmm. I mean, there's the practice, and then there's two sides of it. There's the physical practice side, and then there's the spiritual practice side, of just trying to be in tune and let it come through rather than try to force it. Because what I've learned, what my songs and what writing songs has taught me is that everything works better when I see myself as the vessel that the music's coming through, and I don't attach myself so much to it, because it's really not about me. It's about the songs, and it's about the community, and it's about building community with people. And so, that works a lot better if I just get out of the way. So a lot of times I just have to tell myself, get out of the way, stop thinking, this isn't about you. Don't try to, and like what Peter would say, he's like, it's not about trying to sound good or sound pretty or sound any certain way. It's about vibrating your body, and then the other bodies that hear those sounds are going to vibrate with that, and that's going to have a reaction in them. And hopefully it's a positive reaction. Hopefully it's some kind of a healing reaction or a cathartic reaction or whatever, or a happy, make them happy. And so, yeah, that's kind of what it's really about for me.
You have such beautiful, meaningful messages for your community and your listeners and the people that get to experience you live and through the airwaves. And you're also such a wealth of knowledge as far as a musician goes, and technique. And I know that I've been able to benefit from that, learning from you as a singer. And I wanted to ask you, and for everyone to hear a little bit about this wonderful little AUD that you've created on your property that you've so cutely named Tiny Wonderland. Could you tell us a little bit about the most special little recording studio in all of Southern Oregon?
Well, I don't know if I would say it's the most special, but it is pretty special to me. So I created this space, honestly, because sometimes I wake up at like 3 o'clock in the morning and I want to write songs, and it's really not fair to my husband to like wake him up because our house is like a shoebox. It's a very small house. And so, you can't play guitar or sing in that house and not hear it on the other side of the room or on the other side of the house. So we decided to build me a little studio, and I also had some voice students that would come in, and during the pandemic, I turned it into the recording studio. And so it's been fun. I've gotten to have really wonderful singers like Miss Danielle Kelly here come into my studio and record for her record. And Diane Patterson came in and I recorded a song for her. And Winsong Martin came in and I recorded a song for her. And it's been really fun to get to do that. I like to coach, but I'm not so much a voice teacher, but I do like to coach. And I've been through so many studios and I've sung with so many engineers listening and so many different producers. And I kind of know what works and what doesn't, or at least for me. So I want to be able to share that with other singers.
So the goal for this space is not only to be an asset to your recording, your self-recording practices newfound in this pandemic, but also to work with other artists.
Yeah, and just, for other songwriters to have a safe space to come and it doesn't have to be perfect. They don't have to be like the greatest songwriter in the whole universe or the greatest singer, but try to get the best sound possible and be a supportive, loving environment where they don't feel, we're really lucky in this valley. We have some amazing engineers. And also I've been to studios where, I've worked with people, with engineers who are just kind of like not that great or not that supportive and just like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, yeah, none of us know what we're talking about. This is like supposed to be a supportive environment where we work together. And I've luckily gravitated towards working with those people. And so then I'm just an extra person like that can be around to support songwriters. I'd love to get, some young songwriters in and help them just develop, so that when they do go to a big studio and they do start working with producers, that they have a little bit of a head start on how to use microphones and how to conduct themselves in the studio, and they're not going to be so nervous.
Well, I have to say, between the beautiful tie-dye elephant tapestry and the myriad of otter artwork nodding and paying homage to your otter band, it's a very inviting space, and the community up and down the West Coast is very lucky to have you singing songs that speak such beautiful messages to us, and for all the musicians who get to learn from you and work with you, Alice. It's very inviting. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Alice DiMicele is my guest here for a live session on Jefferson Public Radio in support of her new album, Every Seed We Plant. There's a couple tour dates locally that you can come and see Alice at. She'll be in Roseburg on June 3rd, Eugene on June 4th, here at Grizzly Peak in Ashland on June 5th. All of her show information is available at her website, alicedimicele.com, where you can also support this songwriter, musician by ordering the album. I think we have time to hear one more song from the track. What would you like to play for us?
I'd like to do a song that I co-wrote with Brett Levick called For Granted. And it's a love song. And it's kind of a throwback, to the old style soul, from the 60s that I kind of grew up on. So I wanted to do something completely different. That's the thing about being a Gemini. On Sunday, it's actually my birthday concert at Grizzly Peak Winery in the afternoon at 4. And I'm a kid of the 60s and the 70s, so I wanted to do something kind of throwback.
Beautiful. Well, we can't wait to hear it. Happy birthday. Congratulations on the new album. And thank you so much for joining us back in the studio. Hopefully we'll see you again sooner than later.
Yeah, thank you, Danielle. And thank you, everybody here at JPR. And thanks for playing my music. And thanks to everybody for listening. Love y'all. Please don't take my love for granted. I'll give you all I've got and more. Can't you see my heart planted in this garden next to yours. Baby, please spend a little time with me, 'cause I need to feel your love tenderly. And when you go out in this great big world, won't you keep me on your mind? 'Cause I know there's beauty everywhere. What we share is one of a kind. Baby, please spend a little time with me, 'cause I need to feel your love tenderly. And all I ask is no pretending. If you feel your love's not true, let me know this thing is ending. Baby, don't make me a fool. Please don't take my love for granted. I'll give you all I've got and more. Can't you see my heart is planted in this garden next to yours? Can't you see my heart is planted forever next to
Alice DiMicele, For Granted, from her brand new record, Every Seed We Plant. Alice, what a pleasure talking to you today. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me, and I love y'all, and hopefully I'll see everybody on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Have a wonderful rest of your tour. AliceDiMicele.com is where you can find tickets and information. That's www.AliceDiMicele.com. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Open Air will continue right after this.